The contraband would be logged into evidence at 2:47 in the morning. The cloud timestamp confirming its origin in Sergeant Marcus Greer's hand would lock in at 1:58. Camille Reyes did not know that yet. She only knew that the flashing lights had closed the gap on Westlake Boulevard, slicing the mist and turning the inside of her Accord red, then blue, then red again. It was nearly midnight. She had come from a 15-hour deposition on a brutality claim her unit had been building for 11 months. A judge was set to rule on a subpoena by Thursday. Her leather bag was stuffed with interview transcripts, jailhouse recordings, and a draft complaint naming 4 officers by the end of the week. She was exhausted, not careless. Her speed held steady at 32. Her lane discipline was textbook. Her signal clicked before every move. The unmarked sedan had nothing wrong with it. No expired stickers, no cracked lens, no reason at all to be stopped. Camille glanced at the mirror. The cruiser rode low in her blind spot, then crept closer. She had been waiting for this. 3 weeks earlier, her conviction integrity unit had filed a motion to vacate against 2 detectives caught on body camera slamming a confession out of a 16-year-old boy. Since then, the calls had come. Blocked numbers first, then a late shift that always seemed to begin in her rearview mirror. She had not filed a complaint she could not prove. She had installed proof. A dual-lens camera hid behind her mirror. One lens pointed down the road, one into the cabin. It uploaded to an encrypted server every 2 minutes. A small black pin on her collar held a second camera, angled toward anyone who came to her window. The instant the lights fired, she touched the pin. A faint pulse confirmed it was rolling. She signaled, eased off the gas, and pulled beneath the bright canopy of a 24-hour station. She wanted light, witnesses, and a place where the rain could not wash anything away. Engine off. Windows down, hands on the wheel. Behind her, Sergeant Marcus Greer climbed out of the cruiser with his jacket open and his maglite already raised. In the passenger seat, Officer Devon Pratt watched the patrol screen. Clean plate, no warrant, no alert. He had also clocked her driving. No swerve, no drift. But Greer had told him she crossed the line, and Devon had learned that correcting a sergeant in the car and knowing the truth were 2 very different things. Greer approached the driver's window slowly. The flashlight hit her eyes first, then her jaw, then the charcoal of her suit, then the leather bag on the passenger seat. License and registration. "Good evening, officer," Camille said. "Can you tell me why I'm being stopped? You drifted over the center line." "I did not." Greer lowered the flashlight just enough for the smile to show. "That's not really how this works." Camille kept both hands on the wheel. "My wallet is in the center console. I'm going to reach for it with my right hand." Slowly, Greer tilted his head. "Nice wheels, late hour. Wrong side of town to be wearing that suit." Camille did not take the bait. She lifted the wallet out, opened it, and handed over her driver's license and registration. His face changed when he read the name. Camille Reyes, Conviction Integrity Unit. Right, the woman who buries careers. He made it sound like a slur. Camille studied his badge. Sergeant Greer. He leaned a little closer to the open window and drew in a long breath through his nose. "Marijuana," he said. "I smell marijuana." There was no marijuana in the car. She knew it, and the cabin camera knew it. "Are you sure?" "I am sure, and I do not consent to any search of my person, my car, or anything inside it." Greer's smile widened. "When I smell contraband, I do not need permission. Step out of the vehicle." Camille paused exactly long enough to breathe once. She knew the law by heart. She unbuckled, opened the door, and felt the cold air hit her ankles. "For the record," she said, "I am exiting in compliance with your order." Greer told her to put her hands on the roof. She placed them flat on the wet paint. Devon stood near the cruiser, watching the scene. Greer patted her down harder than the moment required. He opened the driver's door and began tearing through her things: citations, a charging cord, a tube of lip balm, sealed transcripts. He tossed each item onto the seat like it had insulted him. Then he moved to the passenger side. The cabin camera caught his left hand slide to the thigh pocket sewn onto his cargo pants. The lapel camera caught his shoulder turn. Greer palmed a small clear bag the size of a thumb, swept his hand under the passenger seat, and lifted it back into the light. "Well, look at what we have here." Devon did not move. Camille looked at the bag, then at Greer. Her voice stayed level. "You just turned a traffic stop into a federal case." Greer pulled cuffs from his belt. "Felony possession. Your career is over." He pushed her into the back of the cruiser and slammed the door. Through the rain-streaked glass, Camille could still see the small red light behind her mirror, blinking and uploading. At the 11th precinct, Sergeant Greer did not rush. That was his first punishment. He did not ask the desk sergeant to log the charge cleanly. He walked Camille through every step, as though the lobby were a stage and she the only prop. He stood too close for the booking photo. Chin up, flash. Too much attitude. Again, flash. To your left. Flash. To your right. Flash. Camille gave him nothing. No shout, no curse, no flinch. The precinct cameras watched her stand still, while Greer turned procedure into theater. Officer Devon Pratt stayed near the booking room door, arms folded, eyes on the tile. He had seen the stop. He had seen the empty passenger seat. Before Greer leaned into the car, he had seen the left hand drop to the thigh pocket. Now he watched Camille's fingers press the scanner one knuckle at a time. Greer pressed harder than required. Her fingertips whitened at the edges. Camille looked at Devon once, not pleading, not accusing, just marking him as a witness. Greer handed her one phone call. "Make it count," he said. "The bureau may not pick up after the morning news." Camille dialed from memory. She did not call Attorney General Renata Moya, not yet. She called Philip Soren. He answered on the third ring. "Soren, Phil, it's Camille Reyes. I'm at the 11th precinct. Fabricated felony possession. Sergeant Marcus Greer planted a bag during a traffic stop." The line went very quiet. "Are you hurt?" "No. Do not answer anything. I am on my way." "Listen first," Camille said. "Do not publicize the video when you arrive." A pause. "What video?" "Cabin camera, lapel camera, encrypted cloud. It caught the plant." Phil exhaled once. "Then we blow it up tonight?" "No. Tonight he still has room to call it misjudgment. Tonight internal affairs lets him retire. I want his report. I want his affidavit. I want him under oath." Across the lobby, Greer watched her with a lazy grin, certain he was hearing fear dressed as a phone call. Soren understood. "You want him to perjure himself. I want the court to read his lie in his own signature." When Soren arrived with a release motion and a clean vest, he performed outrage the way experienced lawyers perform restraint, loud enough for Greer to enjoy, careful enough to reveal nothing. By sunrise, the booking photo had leaked. The headline moved faster than the facts. "Conviction Integrity Chief arrested in late-night drug stop." By 8 in the morning, Camille sat across from Attorney General Moya in a corner office with the blinds drawn. The mayor's office had called twice. The union had already set up a podium outside the precinct. On the muted screen, Union Chief Pierce Holloway stood behind a wall of microphones with Greer at his shoulder, praising him as a decorated sergeant who took drugs off the street, regardless of the suspect's title. Camille watched without changing expression. "Place me on administrative leave." Moya blinked. "You want that? Standard protocol. If you fire me, they say the office believed him. If you defend me now, they say we are protecting our own. Suspend me pending hearing. Let the report sit long enough to become evidence." Moya lowered the remote. "You have something. I have enough, but not yet." For 6 days, Camille stayed silent. Reporters camped outside her building. Pundits replayed the booking photo. Defense lawyers questioned her old cases on cable. The union demanded her firing. She answered none of it. In Soren's office, she watched the footage again and again. Greer's hand, the thigh pocket, the bag appearing a full second and a half before the search ever reached the floorboard. The cloud log showed the upload finishing before booking had even begun. The station attendant, Tomas Reyes, handed over canopy footage showing Camille's windows down, hands on the wheel, no sudden movement after the stop. Then discovery hit. Soren spread the packet across the conference table. Greer's sworn report said Camille drifted over the center line, smelled strongly of marijuana, appeared nervous, and hid contraband beneath the passenger seat. Devon Pratt's supplemental report confirmed the odor and the alleged discovery. Camille read Devon's signature twice. That one cut deeper than the headline. By signing, he had done more than stay quiet. He had lent the lie his name. The night before the hearing, Devon sat alone in his kitchen with the supplemental open in front of him. His phone buzzed with a message from a union contact. Stay consistent. He stared at the words until the screen dimmed. Then he looked at his own signature and understood that silence had officially become testimony. By 9 the next morning, courtroom 4 was full to the walls. Reporters filled the back rows. Union attorneys sat behind Sergeant Marcus Greer. Camille Reyes sat at the defense table beside Philip Soren in a charcoal suit, her hands folded over a yellow pad with nothing written on it. She did not look at Greer. She watched the bench. Judge Eleanor Ortiz entered without ceremony, took her seat, and scanned the room once. This is a preliminary hearing, not a press conference. Anyone who forgets will wait in the hall. No one moved. Special Prosecutor Cassidy Webb rose for the state. She looked tired, not corrupt. She had taken the file at face value, read the reports, and prepared the case she thought existed. She called Greer first. He walked to the stand in dress uniform, lifted his right hand, and swore to tell the truth. Soren did not move when the oath ended. Webb asked about the stop. Greer said Camille drifted over the line. Webb asked about the search. Greer said he smelled marijuana. Webb asked where the contraband was found. Greer said beneath the passenger seat. Webb asked about Camille's demeanor. Greer said nervous, evasive, combative. Every word landed in the record. Every word stayed there. When Webb finished, Judge Ortiz turned to Soren. Cross. Soren stood slowly. Sergeant Greer, are you certain Ms. Reyes crossed the center line? Yes. Are you certain you smelled marijuana? Yes. Are you certain the contraband came from beneath the passenger seat? Yes. Not from your own hand. Greer's face hardened. No. Not from your pocket. No. Not from any seam of your uniform. Greer leaned toward the microphone. I found it exactly where I said I found it. Soren nodded once. Thank you. That was the moment Camille finally looked at Greer. Not with anger, with completion. Your Honor, Soren said. The defense offers impeachment evidence, a synchronized video file, encrypted cloud manifest, and station canopy footage, all authenticated by an independent forensic report. Webb rose. Your Honor, the state has not been given this material. The witness just testified under oath to facts directly contradicted by that material, Soren said. We offer it for impeachment. Judge Ortiz looked at Greer, then at Soren. Play it. The courtroom monitors came alive. The first frame showed Camille's car under the station canopy, windows down, hands visible, no sudden movement. The next angle came from the cabin camera. Greer leaned into the passenger side. His left hand dropped to the thigh pocket. The bag appeared between his fingers a full second and a half before his hand reached the seat. No one gasped. The silence was worse. The video froze on a frame the back row could clearly read. Soren said nothing for 3 seconds. Then he asked, Sergeant Greer, would you like to revise your testimony? Greer swallowed. That video is doctored. Soren lifted one page. The cloud log shows upload completion before booking. The file hash matches the original. The station footage confirms the timing. Webb sat down slowly, face drained. Judge Ortiz leaned forward. Sergeant Greer, remain where you are. A deputy stepped toward the stand. In the second row, Officer Devon Pratt stood up before anyone asked him a question. His voice came out thin. There was no smell. Greer turned. Devon. Devon did not look at him. She never crossed the line. I signed the supplemental because he told me to stay consistent. I knew it was wrong. Judge Ortiz had Devon sworn on the spot. His statement was taken into the record. Then she dismissed the charge against Camille Reyes with prejudice. The words were quiet. They still broke the case in half. Sergeant Marcus Greer is remanded for direct criminal contempt, pending referral for perjury, evidence tampering, malicious prosecution, and civil rights violations under color of law. The deputy led Greer off the stand. His shield was not taken in front of the cameras. It was taken in a back office, logged logged on a property sheet and sealed in a manila envelope. That was better. That made it official. Before sunset, Greer's request to retire in lieu of discipline was denied. His employment status changed to terminated for cause. His certification file was sent to the state board with the hearing transcript attached. Within a week, Pierce Holloway's union statement was retracted. The same office that had called him a decorated officer now had to admit the court had authenticated video evidence contradicting his sworn testimony. Attorney General Moyer reinstated Camille and opened a conviction review docket for every case in which Greer had served as arresting or search officer. Devon Pratt was suspended and placed under a cooperation order. His false supplemental report stayed in his file. So did his corrected testimony. The city adopted a new protocol. Any officer linked to a pending misconduct probe could not initiate a stop, search, or arrest of a prosecutor, witness, or complainant without independent supervisory approval. Contraband discoveries by officers with open complaints required body camera verification, evidence barcode timing, and outside review before charging. Junior officers received a confidential channel to correct coerced reports before hearing. 3 months later, the first calls went out from the conviction review unit, not press releases. Calls. A man whose probation had begun with a Harlem search. A mother whose son had pleaded to possession after a traffic stop. A mechanic whose CDL had been revoked because a bag appeared in his glove compartment during a routine inspection. Their cases were not cleared that day, but they were no longer closed. Camille sat alone in her office after sunset. On her desk were 2 documents: Greer's sworn affidavit, the Cloud Manifest. One was ink, one was metadata. She opened the conviction review spreadsheet and changed the first case status from closed to reopened. Then she lifted the black lapel pin from her blazer, set it in the top drawer, and slid the drawer shut. This is a fictional story created to reflect procedure, accountability, and institutional reform.